Good evening, everyone. I want to wish everyone in advance of Purim a happy and a healthy holiday. We should be zocheh to experience the reservoirs of joy that this holiday can bring. It can bring joy to the darkest places, to the most hopeless places. And I encourage everyone not to underestimate the power that there is in this day and risk losing or wasting it only on trivial things, worrying about if their costume came out exactly as they wanted it to, if it fits right, if it's flattering, and to miss the diamonds that are there for the taking on this incredible time. I want to focus with you on one chapter, and I'm going to run through the chapter very quickly. It's a chapter which is perhaps the pivotal moment of the story of the Megillah. And I think that inside this narrative, there is something to be gleaned, something to be mined, if we were to pay attention to it. And I think it would change not only our Purim, but indeed our lives. Esther understands what's at stake. She tells Mordechai, go get all the Jews, get them together, unify like the Rabbi just beautifully spoke about, get everyone on the same page, fast for me. They fasted over Pesach. So that year, nobody did the mitzvah. And the Gemara says she was able to undo the mitzvah. How was she able to do so? Because she said, better that one Pesach should be undone than if the Jewish people are all eradicated, then all the Pesachim will be undone. So everything is on the line right now. She fasts, and finally she's ready. She prays. She walks into the room. By the way, on the prayers on Yom Kippur, we start 3 paragraphs with one word. We say, ubchen. And with this, and our rabbis tell us that there's a connection between the words ubchen and with this moment, the moment of Esther HaMalkah, as Esther says to Mordechai, fast for me, pray for me, ubchen, and with this I will go into the king. And she walks into the king, who is sitting as the chapter begins, as he's sitting on his throne, his royal throne of glory. On Yom Kippur, we reference that moment. She was walking into the throne room of God himself, praying, begging Hashem that this man in front of her, this Rasha, this wicked man, would have some semblance of decency, of kindness. And everything is dependent on whether or not he will pick up the golden scepter and extend it to her. And if she's got that, she's in. And if not, she's a dead woman. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun. She walks in. The silence is palpable. Our rabbis tell us, initially Achashverosh had a look of displeasure on his face. She was sure she would be killed. And in that moment, an angel, so to speak, lifted his arm, caused him to decide to lift it. He raises it to Esther HaMalkah, and that's it, it's done, right? Right here, the story should be over. We don't need to fast any longer on the evening of Purim. We should all go break the fast, pop the champagne, celebrate. No. What do you want? I can see you're very bothered. You're upset. You're looking pale. What do you request? Even half the kingdom, it shall be yours. The Gemara says that what he was telling her was that if you asked me for half of all of my kingdom, if you said, can I have half of the countries? I would say yes. Except for the Bet HaMikdash. That's the only thing I won't give you. He didn't even know she was Jewish. He was so paranoid. Even if she wasn't Jewish, he had to put that down on the table. Vatomer Esther. Esther says, again, in the most shocking, I think, sentence in the Megillah, he's set her up for the home run. I'll give you whatever you want. Be clear. Did he say, and I won't save the Jews? You can have half the kingdom. I just won't save the Jews. He doesn't say that. That means he tells you what's on the table. He tells you what's off the table. And what is not off the table? Saving the Jews. And yet, Vatomer Esther, Esther says, Im ala melech tov, if it pleases the king, Yavo HaMelech veHaman, the king and Haman should come el hamishteh asher asiti lo. Come party with me. It's going to be crazy. Me, you, Haman, yeah, amazing. We'll crank up the tunes. We'll have some wine. What is she doing? This is the chance of a lifetime. Not just hers, the lifetime of all the Jews. Go for it. Ask. Why does she ask for a party of wine? Why does she invite Haman to this party? Not only that, Rabotai, when she finally gets the party, and Achashverosh is like, okay, you told me you were going to ask me at the party, now ask. Esther says, you know what I really want? If I could really ask you for anything, you know what I would choose? If you could come to another party. What is he doing? What is she doing? A second party now. The chapter continues and tells us that she says, after it comes the second party, Haman goes out very happy. V'tov lev. The Gemara and the Yalkut and the Midrash are very aware of this, what seems to be a glaring problem in this story. And the Gemara brings no less than 12 reasons why Esther invited Haman to this party and why she made this party indeed with Achashverosh. Some of those reasons address the broader question. Some of them address only why Haman was there. But I'd like to focus with you on, I'd say, 3 of the 12 answers, because I think the lessons are unbelievable. Shanu Rabotenu, says the Yalkut, Ma ra'ata Esther shezimna et Haman. Why did Esther call Haman to the party? If you're going to make the party, if you think you need to get the king good and drunk for him to sign, seal, deliver the fate of the Jews, at least only have him. The biggest problem, why would you want him in the room? Could you imagine that? Imagine you called a private meeting with the President of the United States to discuss the problems that we're having with far left and neo-Nazis. Right? Would you invite them to the meeting too? It's crazy. Answers the Yalkut something unbelievable. Rabbi Nechemia teaches, כדי שלא יאמרו ישראל, אחות יש לנו בבית המלך. So that the Jews should not think, you know what? We've got a sister, Esther. She's a homeboy. She's sitting there in the castle. She's going to save us. She's going to deliver us. In order that the Jewish people shouldn't put their faith in her, v'yisichu et da'atam min harahamim, they'll stop praying. She said, you know what? I'm going to pivot here. Instead of asking what they think I'm going to ask, I'm going to delay. So that the Jews shouldn't have faith in me, they should have faith in God. They tell the story about a couple that could not have children that came to a great tzaddik. And they said, we can't have children, we're desperate, please help us. And the rabbi says, no problem. I will pray for you and you will have a child, but it's going to cost you 5,000 rubles. The couple said, that's a fortune. We're poor farmers, we can't afford it. The rabbi says, I'm really sorry, that's the price of the beracha. The farmer says, but Rabbi, we're just asking you for kids. It's a big mitzvah. Surely you have mercy. Surely you can find in your heart. No. How about, can we get a discount? Nope, 5,000. Can we pay over time? Nope. No payment plan. What kind of person are you? They go outside, they're fuming, and the wife turns to the husband and she says, you know what? Forget this rabbi. Let's just ask God directly. The students looked at the rabbi, and the rabbi said, did you just hear that conversation? That was the point. They came to me thinking that I was the key. They were putting their faith in me. Rabotai, how many times have we spoken about this? The hand-wringing, the nervousness, the anxiety that people have felt over the result elections because Biden won, because Trump was winning, whichever side of the aisle you are, everyone was flipping out. Calm down. They are not the ones that will decide our fate or where we go or what happens to the Jewish people. The more faith you put in them, the bigger the rallies. The more we thought it was going to be Trump in the communities. Obviously, many communities did not. But the more the people thought, the less likely it could be that he would get office. Esther says, if you believe in me, this is not going to work at all. So you know what? Here's a curveball. I got the ask, and I asked for something else. First reason of the Midrash. Let me give you the second reason that's brought down over there as well. Rava Amar, Rava the Amorah said as follows. You know why she invited Haman? Lifnei shever gaon. He quotes the pasuk of Shlomo HaMelech, that before the fall, before the break, comes the pride. Before the fall comes the pride. What she was saying was, if I want Haman to go down in flames, there's really only one thing I need to do. I need to blow up his ego. Because there's nothing that destroys a person more than arrogance. If I invite him to a private party with the king, he'll implode himself. Fascinating. Rabotai, if you want to know how right Rava was, how right Esther was, and by the way, the Gemara says they asked Eliyahu Hanavi, there's 12 different reasons here. Which one did Esther actually think of? Eliyahu Hanavi said all of them. What happens immediately after Haman leaves the party? Let me read you the next sentence in the paragraph that we're covering tonight. Haman walks out of the party, sameach v'tov lev, with such joy. I can't believe it, how happy he is. Ukirot Haman et Mordechai. The immediate thing that happens after the joy he feels from the party, literally, there's nothing else. It doesn't say that Haman went to the bathroom and then he saw Mordechai. It doesn't say that Haman went for a ride. He was cantering around on a pony, right? The immediate result, it didn't even take seconds. He sees Mordechai. He will not bow. Vayimale Haman al Mordechai chema. He gets filled with the most burning anger towards him. Esther knew exactly what she needed to do to set up Haman, literally to disintegrate. Rav Shamshon Raphael Hirsch brings an amazing lesson on this concept. He says, let's for a minute, I don't know, is anyone here a fan of The Far Side? The comic? Anyone? No one? Maybe wrong generation. You should check it out. Brilliant comic. We got someone in the back. And he's even giving me the two hands, illustrating how great he is. Okay, Far Side is an amazing comic. One of the things he does for humor is he imagines animals having human thoughts. Okay, so like as an example, there's two deer standing there, there's a hunter, and one of the deer's looking down, there's a laser spot, on his and he's kind of with a pleading face pointing at the deer next to him. He's got many of these incredibly human, thoughts and attributes, like as if animals would be there. Amazing. Check it out, you'll see it there yourself and you'll appreciate it. But Rav Shamshon Raphael Hirsch tears a page out of The Far Side. He says, let's get into the mind for 1 minute of a goat. But not just any goat. The goat of Yom Kippurim. There's two goats. They grew up together. They went to the same cheder. They're the same height. They come from the same background. They cost the same amount of money. They went to the same, yeshiva. They hung out with the same people. They got the same type of shidduchim, suggested to them. They were the same in every way. That's the mitzvah. Two goats identical. They come together, and then what is the halacha? We choose lots, and one of them gets to go to become a korban. What do they do immediately with that korban? They do the shechita, and they start preparing that korban, that sa'ir for the korban. The second sa'ir, the second goat looks at the other one. He's like, oh, tough noogies. So sad to be you right now, right? And they march him out, and he's thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe I escaped a bullet here. They march him down the thing, everyone's cheering. He thinks there must be something special about me. And then they take him to through the desert, and he's walking through the desert, and the Gemara says that there would be stops where people would greet the person bringing the Sa'ira Mishtaleach that's going to be thrown off at the end of the Azazel. And each time he sees another person, he's like, wow, this guy, he missed praying in Shul on Yom Kippur just to see me. Look at the welcoming party I'm getting. He thinks he's so amazing. He finally gets to the end. He sees this magnificent view, and in the words of the Matok Ha'or, he says the only thing that he's thinking as he looks at this beautiful view of the cliff in front of him is he's like, oh, I wish I brought my camera. They turn him around. They put threads of purple, beautiful wool on his horns, and he's thinking, wow, there's even a crown on my head. And then the Gemara ends. What's the halakha? They push the goat, achoranit, backwards off the cliff. The pride that he has down to the last moment. He doesn't even see it coming. Haman walks home and he decides that he's going to destroy Mordechai, and he builds the gallows that are going to hang him. Rabotai, there's something which is fascinating about this story, and this is really what I'd like for you all to take home tonight from this little idea. This goat thinks he's so lucky, but really, he's seeing everything wrong in the end. That one was the one that became the korban, and this one was the one that got shoved off, so to speak, a prayer to the other side. It's crazy what's going on here. Rabotai, listen to this, because this is unbelievable. In this story, when she finally gets the chance, she points her finger and she says, he asks her, what do you want? And she says, I have one request. Yavo HaMelech veHaman Hayom. Our rabbis tell us that the name of God is hidden in this sentence. Look at the first letters of the word Yavo, Yud, HaMelech, Hey, VeHaman, Vav, Hayom, today. Yud, and then Hey, and then Vav, and Hey. And the Mefarshim ask, of all the places that God's name should appear, why would it appear when we're discussing Haman, this evil king? This is where you want to hint to me that God's name was there? Tell me later on, La Yehudim, Hayitao, rabbis, stick it in over there somewhere. Stick it in where Mordechai is elevated. Here is where you're telling me, Yud K and then Vav K, Rabotai. Rav Yitzchak Goldwasser says something unbelievable. He says that if you take a look, that's exactly the point that the Megillah was trying to drive home. Just a couple days ago, we witnessed something unbelievable when they sent Perseverance up for its journey towards Mars. And as it's going, we are treated to the most beautiful pictures, things we've never seen before because we haven't had the technology. And in the descent, unbelievable, fantastic. After it lands, unbelievable. We're going to get things fantastic. But there's a period in between called the 7 moments of terror, the 7-minute mark that it takes the rover or the Perseverance, the craft, to descend from the atmosphere of Mars and to land on the surface of the planet. They need to go from 12,000 miles an hour to roughly, I think it's like 1.5 miles an hour, to a crawl. It needs to slow down in that short period of time. And it's called the 7 minutes of terror because it takes 11 minutes to receive any communication from that far away. That's how long it takes to travel the light years between us and the planet. So by definition, the most dangerous, the most difficult part of sticking the landing, we have no contact. We cannot fix, we cannot guide, we cannot turn around, pause, accelerate. We can do nothing. In those moments where it's landing all by itself. And you need to be confident that you've put in every single eventuality. You've built it into the hardware and the software, so nothing can go wrong without your intervention. My friends, the first thought that I had was that up until this moment, Esther has constant communication with Mordechai. Did you notice that? Constant. Back, forth, hatach, what's going on, what's happening, he tells her back, she tells him forward. And yet, from the moment that she walks into the throne room of the king, there's no communication at all. Moments of terror. She can't risk, before her big reveal that she's Jewish, that someone will find that she's sending messages to the Jewish guy with the beard in the corridor. So silence. My first reaction was that these are Esther's 7 minutes of terror. But actually, it's exactly the opposite. You see, the powerful message that Purim drives home and what we're supposed to take away from this day is to understand that there is never a time when we have lost connection, and there is never a time, ever, when we are alone. In the moment when you walk into the lion's den, the most difficult part of sticking the landing, surviving a tiny dinner party with nothing to distract you, only Haman and only Achashverosh. Think about it. She is in a room with the 2 people who comprised of the ones that wrote the articles of genocide. It's as if you called a dinner party with Hitler and Goebbels, or Hitler and Himmler. You're only the 2 of you, and you think in that moment you're alone. And the Pasuk says no. Esther understood Yavo, HaMelech, VeHaman, Hayom, as she's asking for that request to descend into the depths, to go into the lion's maw. She sees in that moment that God is there with her. And that the only thing she needs to take care of is the spiritual slant of this. If I can get Haman to be arrogant, then the zechut of that, the fact that arrogance precipitates a fall will ensure that he goes down, and goes down for good. What she was most nervous about is that the fickle nature of this king was such that he could be persuaded to kill his wife at the drop of a hat. He could be persuaded to kill a nation at the drop of a hat. Maybe she convinces him not to save the Jews, and in a few short moments, Haman convinces him back the other way. No. Yavo hamelech veHaman hayom. And I know that I am okay even in that room, and there are no moments of terror. Gam ki elech begetz al mavet lo irara ki ata imadi. Even if you are the only one that is with me, no friends, no lawyers, no community, no support, I'm alone. I am never alone, for you are with me. The Talmud tells us that Esther does something which is simply impossible to understand. She walks into the room and everything is set. She's had the first party and now it's the second party. And he's like, okay girl, what's going down? And she says, there's a guy who's trying to kill me and my people. It's a very big problem. There has never been, right? This is, right? It's the moment. And listen to what she says. As she says to him, she says, this wicked man. And the Talmud says that when she pointed at the Rasha, who was she pointing at? Not Haman, but Achashverosh. This same malach that is conveniently knocking hands about everywhere. I'm not sure, maybe he's drunk, stumbling through rooms. The same malach that moves Achashverosh's hand to Esther moves now Esther's hand away from Achashverosh. Points to Haman. Haman hara hazeh. The commentators ask, you set this up so beautifully. You have them in the right mood. You got Haman falling on you, now looks like he's trying to take the queen in the castle of the king. He's furious. You've got everything going on over here, right? Everything's going down. Just all it took, right before he fell on her, the only thing it took was for her to say this. And she points at Achashverosh. What a risky move. And the answer, my friends, is that the two parties that Esther threw were undoing two other parties. The Megillah calls the days of Purim Yemei Mishteh. They are party days. Strange name for a holiday, right? Yemei Mishteh V'Simcha. Days of partying. Because there was two parties that the Jewish people went to. The party of Achashverosh. And as well, Gam Vashti HaMalka Aseta Mishteh. She also made a party. And in those two parties, the Jews went. And why did they go? Because they were terrified of antagonizing the king and the queen. So they went to a party that they shouldn't have. They put their faith in people of flesh and blood and didn't put their faith in God. And in that moment, God said, you don't think I'm the one that's in charge? Here, go ahead. Go be with the king that you think loves you, because you go to his parties. Go see if he feels kinship and connection to you. Go see if what you did worked. And look where we are now. Esther throws another party. A party in which she is fearless. A party where she invokes the name of God as she walks in, thinking only and afraid only of Borei Olam. And in that moment, Esther could choose to point at Haman and play a very good, a very wily political game. She had 12 good reasons why she invited Haman. This was unbelievably devious and crafty. And yet, in that moment, Esther says, all of my eggs, God, are in your basket. So I'm going to call it like I see it. And she points at Achashverosh. In the upper worlds, that was the truth. But in this world, it was not what was meant to be shown. So the hand gets pushed. So Hamelech, which refers to God, starts to look like it refers to Achashverosh in the Megillah. So the word Yud Ke Vav Ke is hidden in the words Yavo HaMelech VeHaman. My friends, we have an opportunity in these days to eradicate any fear, any anxiety, any issues that we have. And the only thing we need to do is point at a problem itself right in the mouth. Not be afraid, not make so many cheshbonot, but to recognize that with all of our reasons and with all of our ideas, ultimately, everything belongs and exists in the hands and in the power of Borei Olam himself. My friends, I wish you a illuminating, a powerful Hag Kasher V'Sameach, a time of simcha, of joy, a time when you can focus not on gathering things in for yourself, but in sharing them with other people. Mishloach manot and matanot le'evyonim. Ultimately, in this paradoxical world that God runs, we gain much more when we give than when we take. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen ve'amen.